Hello everyone, my name is Arik and in this video we're going to talk about exceptions in Java. Okay, so the task for this video is understand the hierarchy of exceptions. Okay, this is the first topic. The second is you may have come across this the try catch block. In fact, we've also used it in JDBC connections if you can recollect. Okay, third thing is the finally it's a block as well. Next is multi catch. This also we have covered. I may not have explained it in that video, but in JDBC we had this multi catch. Okay, if you can remember in the service class we had this. And fifth is the difference between checked and unchecked exceptions. These are the types of exceptions, and we'll be talking about them. Okay, so you can see the in the project I have a default package. I have the main app class over here, and I also have a class called a. Okay, right now you can see there's a method in a. It says get length. You're passing a string, and then you're just returning the length of the string. That easy. Okay, you're in app class. You are creating the object of this, right? We've talked about this, right? This is the object new a. You can see the class is also imported at the top, and just getting the length and just printing the length. Okay, you can see the string is empty, and now if I just run this, you're going to see that the length is going to be zero, right? This is all good. Well, but what if sometimes you can have null as well, right? Null means nothing. Okay, understand the difference. Null means nothing and doesn't mean empty string. Okay, empty string means there is a string and there's nothing in the string. Here it means nothing. String is only null. Okay, so if you do if you just pass null over here, so this method right here is going to get the string as null, and then we are doing null dot length. Okay, null dot length. Remember one thing, guys. Forever remember this. If you do null dot anything now, it's going to be null point exception. And 95% of the times you'll have this exception coming up in projects. Okay, even in fact in the last video on JDBC we saw that we were getting this null point exception in remember the con variable. It was null, and then we got the null point exception. We got a red colored message in the console, right? So this is going to happen here as well. You can see there's a null point exception because it says s is null. That means this s which is passed as an argument is null, and then we are doing null dot length, so that's null point exception. Now how do we get rid of this? Remember, guys, when there's an exception and compilation failure, these are two different things. Okay, in exceptions you are running the program, but the program is halted midway. In compilation failure, the program doesn't run only. Okay, that's the main difference. And you can see when there's an exception, the program is terminated. It doesn't. If had I written something here below this, it would have not been executed. Okay, because here itself, forget this return statement. Even if this was a variable, and then you were returning this variable, you could have the exception here as well. And then the if just forget about returning. If there was a SOP here and this method was void, okay, and here you did s dot length and you got the null point exception, that SOP which is below this would never have been executed. Okay, if there was a SOP on line number 8 and you got a null point exception on 7, in fact any exception for that matter, then line number 8 will not be executed. The program is halted. So that's what exceptions are. And obviously to handle exceptions we have something known as try catch block. Okay, first of all let's understand the hierarchy. Okay, so this is the hierarchy of the exceptions. You can see throwable is the super, it's at the top, and here you have something known as runtime exceptions, and these are the unchecked exceptions. Okay, unchecked are always the runtime exceptions. You can see by the name, they are never checked during compile time. Okay, that is unchecked exceptions for you. They are checked at runtime. And you have something known as checked exceptions. These are the exceptions which are checked at compile time itself. That means while compiling the program, JVM checks for these exceptions. Okay, you must have noticed in colleges, in many of the main methods, you can see not here main. You write something known as throws IO exception. You write it ahead of the signature of the method, right? That is what is IO exception. IO exception is a checked exception. That's why you need to specify it here. You can see it's a checked exception. You need to specify it, give a warning for it. So that is what checked exceptions are. And checked exceptions you need to give a warning, and in unchecked you don't have to give a warning. So that is the two main points of difference between these two methods. And throwable is a super, and these arithmetic null pointer, these are the common ones which you encounter right at runtime. These are the ones. Array index out of bounds. If you just give an array of length 5, and if you try to print the sixth element, it's going to give an array out of bounds. Class cast, when you try to convert one class from another, like if you convert string from Java to integer, and if you can't convert it, then it will throw a class cast exception. So these are some of the exceptions. They are runtime. So that was the hierarchy for you. Let's get back to our aims. Third thing is known as finally and try catch. Of course, try catch and finally they do come together. So let's just try it out. Now, try catch is a block which is used to handle exceptions. Okay, so the syntax for this is try followed by catch. Okay, and in the catch in the bracket here, you just write exception, whatever type of exception you're expecting, right? So let's just throw a null point exception here manually. So what you can see is I'm throwing an exception manually. Okay, null point exception, right? So you can see the null point exception will be thrown by me, and whenever there's an exception, JVM looks for a relevant catch block. Okay, I say relevant. This is a very important word here. If you just throw a null point exception and here you come and you just write down arithmetic exception, it's not going to work. Okay, this is not relevant to this. If you go back to this hierarchy, you can see they are in the same. You can say they are, yeah, they are pures. They're kind of pure exceptions, and you can see arithmetic null pointer. They are all pures. So this is a hierarchy, guys. Remember, this is the topmost. Then you have one layer, second layer, and then your. So what is relevant for null pointer is runtime, exception, and throwable. What is relevant for arithmetic is runtime, exception, throwable. Same again. What is relevant for file not found? It's IO exception, and throwable. So you can go up the order, but you can't go down. Okay, if you have a runtime, if you have something known as IO exception, you cannot write runtime because it's not the super class. Right? We are looking at the hierarchy. You can only go above. right? You cannot go for the same level or below that. If you have an IO exception coming, and if you write in the catch block, if you write final found, it's not going to work. You have to either write exception or throwable. Okay, so it was a hierarchy. So we'll just cut this and let's just paste null pointer here. So what we are telling JVM is, if you just come across this null pointer, don't halt the program for us. Just give us some message or do something here. Just say null pointer exception NPE. And the main thing, guys, the main, you have to understand this. When you have a relevant catch block, the program is not going to be halted. Okay, the program will continue. So if I was to write a hello over here, then you will see that this hello is also displayed. Okay, it doesn't halt. Last just a few minutes ago I said if there's a compilation failure on line number 7, then line number 8 will not be executed. But if you have a try catch block and the catch block is relevant, then JVM will execute this catch block and it will not halt the program. It will go on executing the lines which are below this. Okay, that is a try catch for you. And also you have something known as finally. So it is executed after the try and catch both are executed. Okay, so finally you can also have something here saying finally executed. Okay, so let's just try this. So what is going to happen? Of course, you have a compilation failure because we are returning an int, right? So let's just return 2. Okay, so let's just talk about what we did. We have written a null pointer exception here. You're throwing this manually. You have it in a try catch block, and then you have a finally block. So what is going to happen? Let's just trace what is the flow of this program. So first of all, the string is null. Okay, we are okay. Let's just change this to this. Okay, empty string. Now you have an empty string over here. You can see once it comes here, then we are manually throwing this. Okay, this program is that it's illogical, but just for sake of explanation, why would you throw an exception yourself? Okay, just for the sake of explanation, we are not achieving anything here. We are just understanding what these exceptions are. Okay, so you're throwing a null point exception here, and in the catch block, you can see it's a relevant catch block. It's in fact it's matching, and you can see this we're catching it in this instance, and then we're printing NPE. Now, if you just write exception over here, will this work, guys? Tell me. Will it work? It will work because you can see null pointer is here and exception it's super to this, right? So it's going to work. It's up the hierarchy. When if you wrote throwable over here, okay, you just change this to throwable, it's going to work. Okay, I misspelled. Yeah, you can see there's no compilation failure and this will work. So that's why understanding the hierarchy is very important. Okay, so let's just trace. Okay, yeah. So you have a string, empty string. You come to this method, you can see it's still empty over here. Then we're throwing this manually. So here the exception is raised on line number 8, and then JVM will look for a relevant catch block. It will find this. It will know that this is relevant, right? And then it's going to print NPE onto the console. After the try catch block is executed, then it will go to execute this finally block, and then you'll see that finally executed is printed on the console, right? And then it's going to return 2. Okay, first of all, it's going to print hello before that, right? We are just printing this to test if the program is being terminated or no, and you'll see that it's not terminated because this is relevant here. So, and then it's going to return 2, and then in SOP it's going to be printed in the main method over here in app. So what do we expect on the console? We expect NPE finally executed hello and then 2 over here, right? Let's just run this, and you can see NPE finally executed hello and 2 all are, this is what we talked, right? This is exactly what we talked. And now let's just play something. Okay, let's just change this throwable and just write arithmetic exception here. Okay, you can see it's not relevant. Okay, so what is going to happen? It's going to be similar, right? Here we are going to have an empty string, null pointer is thrown. You'll see that the catch block is not relevant over here. Okay, so it's not going to print this. Okay, it's going to raise an exception. We'll just run this. Yeah, you can see it has raised the exception. Yes, finally, guys, finally, remember, finally is always going to be executed. No matter what the catch block is, finally will always be executed. Okay, so you can see as the catch block was not relevant, JVM has not printed NPE onto the console. That's executed the finally block, and you can see the statements which were there further, they all have been terminated. They have not been executed. We cannot see hello and 2 in the screen on the screen as we saw in the previous output, right? So this is what you need to have a relevant block over here, relevant catch block, and if that works, then everything will work properly. Otherwise, it's going to give you this red colored message, right? So I think that was for exceptions. And yeah, we have checked, we have these difference between checked and unchecked, right? And one more thing, multi-catch block. We have spoken of, we have seen this. In fact, you can recollect in JDBC, we saw that we created a service class over here. And in the service class, we just look closely, you can see that there's one try block and there are two catch blocks over here. This is something known as multi-catch, right? First of all, you just try to get the list right from the DB, and if you encounter a class not found exception, this one, you just encounter this, then print the stack trace. Okay, else go for SQL exception. Now SQL exception is certainly up the hierarchy for class not found. Okay, understand this. For multi-catch now, the order in which the catch blocks are written is very crucial. You cannot write a catch block at the beginning which is already up the hierarchy. It should be in ascending order. Okay, if you're not getting what I'm saying that if you write null pointer as the first catch block, right, then you cannot write index out of bound as the second one. It should be up the hierarchy. Like, okay, just let me give you another example. If you write exception in the first block, okay, exception is your first catch block. here you've written exception, okay, exception E, and here in the second one you're writing something like null pointer. Obviously, if the catch if it's caught an exception, then it will never come here. It will never come down the hierarchy. You're getting what I'm saying? You can go down the hierarchy. Oh, I'm so sorry. You can go up the hierarchy, but you cannot go down. Okay. So if you write exception over here, only thing which you can write here is throwable. Okay. Anything apart from that is not going to work. So that is multi-catch block for you. Mostly these multi-catch are generated by the ID. You don't have to worry about them, but it's good to know that there are something known as multi-catch blocks. So I hope you understood what they are, and I think we are done with this video. We've understood the hierarchy. We've seen the syntax for try catch. You can see this finary block which is always executed irrespective of what happens in the try and catch block. We've also seen this multi catch and your checked and unchecked. Yes, we talked about them, right? They are the checked exceptions. They are checked at the compile time, right? And you need to give a warning for them, right? After the method signature. And in unchecked, you don't have to give any kind of warning, and they are compiled. They are checked at runtime. Okay, that's the difference between them. And this is the class hierarchy. You need to remember this right side of the hierarchy. Okay, this error and all these stack overflow don't have to remember. Just have to remember the throwable is the superclass, and your exception. Then you have runtime and IO, and then runtime you have these common ones. Okay, and these you won't even use the ones under IO exception. Okay, this mal found. Okay, unknown host. These are rare, but these are very frequent. Like arithmetic exception. When you divide by zero, you get this exception. Null pointer. We saw this index out of bounds exception. This is when you can find this in lists. Okay, class cast, I explained this. Array index is very common, and you also have something like string index. It falls in this category only, and that is a runtime exception family. Okay, so I think we are done with this video. I hope you liked the video, and very soon in the next videos we're going to talk about the concepts of OOPM like inheritance, polymorphism. These are all the Viva favorite questions, right? Examiners in Viva ask you a lot of questions on these inheritance, polymorphism, method overriding, overloading, all these concepts. So just stay tuned, and in the next video we'll meet again. Till then, it's a bye for now.